all good. We made it. All the things that can go wrong did, but we all have coffee, right? So we're good. We all have, yeah. Okay, great. So we've got the thing that matters the most.
I was worried that it was going to start, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, because we've been waiting. I was like, I have to go heat up my coffee. So I'm going to run to the kitchen real quick.
See, the key is having this like mug warmer here so that your coffee never gets cold.
What? Oh, that's handy.
So you put it on your desk.
Brilliant.
And then it warms your mug because cold coffee is just not happening over here.
No.
So
yeah,
it's only like $8. It's great. And then you have warm coffee for the rest of the time that you're sitting at your desk.
Wow.
I highly recommend.
Okay, now. That was like the takeaway from this convo this morning.
That's right. Well, oh my gosh, it's been years since we were in this grid together so long ago talking about ballet with Alice. That was been so long. So much has happened since then.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It
It's
is.
amazing to be able to talk to you guys again. Although I feel like, Abby, I feel like I know you so much better from just watching you on live for like every single day for a month.
I know. The live was crazy, but really fun.
So today we want to talk a little bit about ballet. Obviously, we all love ballet very much. It's all a big part of our life. We want to talk about ballet. We want to talk about ballet as adults specifically, maybe even get into a little bit about dancing at home, what it's been like for you guys, what it's been like for our community, what you're hearing, what we're hearing, and anything else that the conversation wanders to. If anyone's out there and was trying to join the Zoom, look out in your inbox for a link to this where we are now, or just shoot us your questions in the chats, in the comments on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll be happy to answer. So yeah, let's get started. Oh, who's the kitty? Who's the kitty?
This is Kai.
Hi, Kai.
He's my dancer, my feline dancer.
That's right. Partnering 101.
He's obsessed with taking class with us.
And that's so sweet.
He is the most flexible person in the house.
Yes.
Right, without even trying.
Mm-hmm.
He's so big, I cannot even believe how big he's gotten.
So what is life like where you are, Jana? Is everything studios, everything still closed, everything still shut where you are?
Yeah, everything, dance studios, there's been no discussion. I have not heard a thing about reopening. One of my teachers had reached out a few weeks ago and was like, do you guys want a live class? And like the group that performs, my adult ballet group that performs, we were all like, yes, please, we need class. And so he's been doing that once a week, but he said that, even as faculty at the school, they're not hearing anything. Like they're just not communicating plans because I think that they don't want to say something and then not be able to deliver. And
right.
But yeah, so I really just have no idea how much longer we're in this boat. So yeah.
Yep. So what is so you started as an adult, Jana, is that right?
No, I didn't. I started, well, I danced, I took baby classes or whatever, and then just didn't dance for a long time. And then went to, I was like really into like jazz and tap and all of that. And then like discovered like, I could go like be a ballerina, and so then I started taking ballet. I guess I was 8 or 9, I can't remember, but started taking like ballet, and then I was like, this is real dancing. And like, so I did that till I was like 14, 15. I kind of fell off of it because I was like getting into like, I want to be cool and social and like, have a life. And so I like stopped and, missed it the entire time. And then all through college, it was just like, I remember being like, all these people, like, in my sorority, we would do like these dance things. And I would be like, no one knows, like no one even knows to consider me as a dancer because they don't know, like that wasn't part of my life. And but then when I was 21, I went back to like a summer session, just for fun, and then I've been back ever since. So now we're like 15 years in or something like that. It's
amazing.
Yeah,
the time goes fast. Once it starts, it's like you look back and all of a sudden, most of a decade has passed.
Yeah.
Amazing. Hi, everyone just joining. I'm so glad you were able to find us over here. Yay, sorry about that craziness, but I'm so glad you're able to join us. Feel free to chime in if you guys have specific questions for the wonderful Ballerinas by Night. If you have things that you want to know about, they work with so many adults in the community and just super have a finger on the pulse of everything we're doing here with the adult community. So let them know your questions. We're all here to have a little fun chat. So feel free to chime in. You can either come off mute and chat with us or use the chat box, which I believe this tool has. So you can let us know your questions and we'll be more than happy to answer them. Abby, so you have had quite the experience with working with adults, right? You've worked with Jana, you've worked with many, many adults. Talk to me about what it's like teaching adults, because you also have worked with kids too. So talk to me about what kinds of things adults can see when they're learning how to do ballet.
Yeah, well, when I opened my studio in Norman, I was planning on doing, like a regular children's program, which I had, but it was just interesting that it was my adult program that kind of exploded even more than my children's classes. And so we had a really strong program there, and we had everything. We had absolute beginner. I just kind of went because I was a new studio, and so I was just operating by what people wanted. And people would walk in the door and want absolute beginner classes. I had all the way up to very high level advanced adults. So I tried to have a mix of levels, and I was committed. I wanted every class to be an hour and a half. I was very, very into that because I felt like adults so often, you would get, like an hour class that, at 9 o'clock at night, and that was like the best you could, the best option you had. And because when I came back, I had danced professionally as a teen, and then I went to college for dance, quit, took some time out to get a degree, and I just kind of started wanting to come back into it to dance. That was part of what made me open a studio, was that I couldn't dance anywhere. It's like, okay, here's some, like teenage class, or here, it was just like all over the place. So for myself, I was like, well, I want this, maybe other people would. And it did. It just really took off. I had adults that I put on point for the first time, and they were really, really good. They were like, we know that we're not going to be like amazing point dancers, but we just want the experience of dancing on point. We will trust you. We don't even care that much about getting up the bar. We just kind of want to be able to buy the shoes and see what we can do. But then we also had people who were dancing at a really high level on point. We had an adult point class. And it just was, it was really eye-opening for me, because at that time, what was that, 2010 to 2012? And that was before anything was on YouTube. And just before, like, I feel like since then you've seen a rise in just adults wanting stuff. There were no adult intensives. There was Kat Wildish in New York. Like, she was like one of the ones who was doing that. And of course, I mean, New York, even like David Howard, I was just watching this old class from like the 80s. That was his adult class. And it just kind of like blew my mind. But, when you get out of the cities and get out of New York, and then the options just dropped. So when I closed that studio, then that was when Jana would come over to my house, and I had a setup kind of like this. And she was just like, like, I just want like more ballet. And, she was like really, really up on YouTube, really up on, how to do that stuff. She was at that time an emerging photographer, and was into the video side of things, and stuff that I was like, I don't know. And so it was really like, it was all Jana. It's like, well, maybe we should like put some stuff on YouTube. And we just thought, if we could just kind of get the message out there that like, hey, adults can dance, maybe that would help us, gain more traction to try and get more classes, again, for us to have access to, as well as everybody else. And seeing it explode the way it has since then has just been kind of crazy. And I feel like it's important for you know, like the big ballet companies to really take adults seriously, because we're also their audience. I mean, I don't really want to go see a ballet if I'm not like getting to take class. You know, if I'm really like sad about, you know, not getting much ballet in my life, then I don't want to go see the performances. But if I'm feeling good, if I'm going to go take class and I feel like I have my own space, then, you know, I want to go see it and participate in it. And, you know, the whole thing becomes more of a mutually beneficial thing, rather than just like, here's the company and here are you lowly people that don't get any of that.
Well, it helps develop the appreciation too, especially if you're new and you've never done ballet before. Obviously, it looks easy. The whole point is that it looks easy, right? That's like the whole idea, is that you should make it look easy. Therefore, you
Yeah.
think it's somewhat easy. Like honestly, when you're a new dancer, you think it's somewhat easy. It doesn't look that hard, and then you start and you're like, oh, so standing is hard. Got it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yes, 30 years into it and standing, it's still hard.
I know, still sweating. So it's developing that appreciation too as a new dancer. It really helps you enjoy the ballet that much more, because you get it. You're like, oh, that's actually super hard. You have no idea that what's hard when you're an audience member if you haven't tried it before, because it all looks easy. That's like if you watch weightlifting or the Olympics or whatever, you can tell it's hard because they're like grunting and pushing and stuff, but you can't tell that it's hard when you watch ballet.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Well,
funny.
when you're talking about the studio, Abby, that like made me think about how much I think like the key about I think why your program was so successful with adults is because like everybody that went into your studio was trained the same way. Like whether they were like teenagers in high school, whether we were, you know, late 20s, whatever we were at the time, like 40-year-olds, whatever they were, like it was like you came in and everybody had the same opportunity to improve and grow and be a dancer. So it wasn't like you like dumbed down anything for anybody. It was like you encourage everybody to find their best abilities. You know what I mean? So it was just like I think that was what was so attractive and addictive, because you would literally see progress at every class that you would come to. And I think that that's like where adult ballet classes tend to miss the mark, is like teachers may not realize like adults have a lot of potential. Like we may, you know, like not get to like crazy levels, but like you can learn a lot. Like you can be a really good dancer at whatever age, and you just have to like train them just like you would your younger students. And I think they appreciate that when they can see progress, because we want to be good dancers. That's why we go to do class, you know.
Yeah,
I
and I
think that
think
was a really, you know, just always a strong message. Like I always tried to tell everybody, even they came in like day one, absolute beginner. It's like, you come in here and, you know, all you're trying to be is like this much better than you were the last class. But try and get, you know, that little bit more. And then, you know, over time, like if you get this much every single class, then, you know, over weeks, over months, like all of a sudden you see that jump up. And it's not about, you know, as an adult trying to be a pro, trying to get to that same level, trying to imagine yourself being the dancer that you might go see in the local company. It's just about for your own self, you know, seeing that progress just little by little. Don't get down on yourself because you're not here today. Just take where you are and just keep building from there.
I think that expectation that our adult dancers will improve is really valuable, because it will inform how the kinds of detail we give. If we don't think that they're going to get any better, we won't bother telling them how to do it better. If we don't think they can ever get more turnout, we won't bother telling them about turnout. If we don't think that they can get a triple pirouette, we won't bother telling them about a super straight leg. If you know, we won't bother telling them these things. But because our adult population is so hungry for the information, and we've all seen them. We've all seen ourselves and our dancers and communities grow so much that it's worth giving all that information, and it's so worth it because the passion is there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So well said, Julie.
And I think that was the thing too that I realized about adults is I was like, almost every single adult that walks in my door comes in here to work. You know, like they're the teenagers, it's like mom and dad are paying for it, and I've been doing school and I've been doing this, and you know, and I love my teenagers. Like, you know, I'm not down on them or anything, but it was a different thing. Like when the adults would walk in, they were just like raring to go. My teenagers, I was like, come on, like trying to pull stuff out of them. But, the adults weren't like that. Their money was going to those classes. Their time that could be grocery shopping and doing other stuff was going to those classes. So how seriously adults take it, it's a different thing. And I just fell in love with that dynamic in the classroom. And I've just never stopped loving that. That's why I wanted to keep going with the channel, because you just see that now at an international level, and it's the same across the board. You say they're hungry for it.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things to say to a class at the end of the day, especially if they're having low energy or getting down on themselves, I'm like, look, guys, you chose me over Netflix, okay? That in and of itself is like a big deal. Like you, you made a choice tonight to pick me over your favorite TV show and a glass of wine. I understand that was a huge choice. So like, let's get through this together. Because we did it.
Yeah, like just choosing to show up is sometimes the hardest thing. Like just making the decision to be like, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go. Like
you are here and you have pants on. Like you won the day already. Like let's do it. Let's just have some fun and learn a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially for our moms out there, the fact that you have pants on is like that you got out of the house, that you don't have your kids clinging to you, that you managed to separate is like literally an accomplishment that is worth celebrating at the beginning of class.
Yes, so much.
It's a big deal. Totally.
Yeah.
So I think that one thing, back to what you were talking about, Abby, in terms of the goals of an adult dancer and wanting to see little progress here and there, I think not here and there, but consistently over a period of time, is that the time horizon is different. So our time horizon as adults is like literally the rest of your life. That's a long time. That's a lot of time. Like I've always believed that. Like, are you telling me that you're going to try this every single week for the rest of your life and not get better at it? What else have you tried for this long and not improved at? That's just crazy talk. Why would like that expectation of so much time can pass? You will keep going. Our time horizon is years and years and years, whereas a kid has to get a job by the time they're 18 or like 25 or whatever. Your career is very short. But as an adult, our career is like forever.
Yeah, and going along with that too, sometimes then we also have to realize as adults that like these teenagers, they have to have this kind of like perfect trajectory, like upwards. Ours can kind of go like this. And Jana and I talk about this a lot because we get a lot of people coming to us that they're like, well, like I've been like really going for, 6 months or 2 years. And now all of a sudden I'm just like lacking some motivation, and I'm worried about the fact that I'm lacking motivation, and I'm afraid of like what that means. And our advice at that point is usually, just like take some time, take a week, take a month, take whatever you need, but know that it's there for you, because you're probably going to be better off if you realize. And I think Jan and I have both had moments where we've kind of like taken, life gets in the way, you take a step back. And then, and sometimes it'll happen within a week, like literally like on Monday, we'll be like, I'm done with this. And by Friday, we're like, I love it again. And, that we can, it doesn't have to be like this for us. Like you were saying, our timeline is this, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that really is true. And so giving people space to kind of, understand that you might not be like 100% gung-ho every single day for the rest of your life. And that's okay. Like we don't, there's no pressure for us. And I think it's getting to do all this on our own terms is also what makes it that much more satisfying. I'm honestly so much more satisfied as an adult dancer than I was training, and definitely more than dancing professionally. Actually, the more that I look back on the time that I danced professionally, the more I realized that was probably like in many ways my least favorite time dancing. Or it's like the training I loved, dancing as an adult I love, but that was like such a different thing and so much pressure that I like what I'm getting to do now even more, because it's so much more just, I get to choose what I am, I get to choose what I do, I get to you know, pick the variation I want to work on or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's huge. I think one thing I've actually enjoyed a lot about the virtual performances that we've been seeing, and the one that we put on last night, and the one that we have again tonight, is like you get to pick what piece you have. You get to pick what you want to say. You get to pick the message that you put out into the world. You don't have to wait for permission from someone to give you that role or that whatever. Yeah, you don't have to be like, you know, getting it given to you. Like you can do it. Like it's just there for the taking, right? You can create it, you can put it out there and make what you want to say out of it, which is the beauty of dance. And I think why many of us come to love it, not just the technique, to be able to put out your expression and put out what you want to say.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Has your, okay, we've got a question here. We actually had a question on YouTube as well. Someone wants to know what your shirt says, Abby. Joe started ballet as an adult and loves our classes.
The cloud and victory.
Better than my point shoes. That's funny.
Good old cloud and victory.
We've got to love cloud and victory. They're like the epitome of, like, I love their message because it's so much like, we want to get better. We obviously love ballet, but like we're not taking it too seriously while we're going. They have like totally found that balance of taking the pressure away, but while still taking yourself seriously, which is a really hard mix to find. It's not that there isn't pressure to get better, but it's that it's not judgmental pressure or like a negative kind of pressure.
Yeah.
It's a drive, not like a negativity.
Yeah.
Let's see. Danielle says, hi, Danielle. It's great to have you on here. As an adult dancer, we have a different mindset. We don't have to show how good we are. We just want to do the best we can and have fun and relax from everyday life. Those are all really great points.
An escape.
Yeah, for sure. Like I can't think about my to-do list while I'm doing tondus. Like I just can't. So it's like you have to be present in your classwork, and it really is like it's just a complete escape to like a whole different world for an hour and a half. And then you just like the endorphins, like it's just like I don't know, there's nothing that replicates it. It's yeah,
it's so true. The motivation and the goals are very different. And I think one thing you were saying, Abby, about giving yourself permission to take a break is super important. And I think right now we've all had to learn a little bit about that as well, because I'm sure you guys have seen ebbs and flows in people's motivation and in kind of and honestly, in a very similar wave, right? As news comes and goes, the waves are actually quite similar in terms of people being present and ready and people being like, hey, I just need a sec. Like, this is going to be too much for me today. Yeah. So I think that having the permission to be like, hey, like, even if you take a month off right now, it doesn't mean it's over. It's not the end of everything. You can pick it back up. You don't lose everything you work for. It doesn't just disappear. It's not like that hard work goes away at all. Just need a break.
Yeah. That's been a big lesson for me. I think I was so scared to stop. You know what I mean? Like I did think like all of this work was just gonna like disappear, because there is like a level of it that, you know, you're maintaining it every week and it's gonna feel a little rough when you come back. But, you know, on the flip side of that, like I generally feel pretty darn good after I take a break. My body seems to be happy and reset, and some of those things that were kind of difficult or I was overthinking sort of just naturally happen. Like that seems to always happen after I take a break. And I think just having that calmness about like, if today doesn't feel like a day that I want to dance, like it's going to be okay. Like, you know what I mean? So like, there's so many opportunities out right now. There's so many classes to take. It can be really overwhelming. Like I think it's kind of calmed down a little bit, but the very beginning of all of this, I was just like, oh my God, like there's so much happening. I don't even know how to like stay on top of it. And I just sort of like pulled back and like I was just like, made it more about like, okay, what does my body want? What do I need right now? Instead of trying to push through, you know, what's cool or what's happening, just like take it back to the roots. And that's kind of what's keeping me going. So I just sort of do it when I feel like my body wants it. And if it doesn't, then I do something else or something not at all. So, but yeah, getting to a place where I'm like, okay with that it's really freeing. And I think it makes you love dancing and being in the studio even more when you do it. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's, I hope that we all maintain that sort of balance going forward, right? We've all had to learn it now for these very drastic reasons, but I think that these things, like what I've come to kind of think about this pandemic and this time is like, nothing's new here. It's all magnifying our previous anxieties and insecurities. There's nothing, if you were already anxious about losing your technique before, you're more anxious now. If you were already figured out how to develop that balance, which I didn't, if you had already figured that out before, then you probably have that continued now. Like if you already had healthy habits, you have those. If you had unhealthy habits, you have more of them. Like it's magnified everything you felt before. So all of our fears and insecurities about will we ever be good enough? Will we lose this? All of our hard work is not going to pay off. Like all of the insecurities we already had are just like magnified right now. And so we've had to face them head on. And I hope that, and I do believe that those healthy mindsets around it are going to be maintained with us, where we'll be able to take class once or twice a week and be like, okay, I feel satisfied with that this week, and kind of be able to maintain that mental balance, even in both Zoom and in person. I'm sure we'll have a hybrid for a while, but be able to maintain that balance of healthy habits.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm personally kind of hoping that some of the hybrid things that have come about from all of this will continue. I mean, I think it gives us almost like a whole new world to look at entering into. My son's been doing classes through Universal Ballet Competition with Desmond Richardson, who's someone that, we would have had to have traveled and spent hundreds or thousands of dollars to get to him. His schedule is really busy. And I'm like, man, I would love for that to, or, things like that to continue. I think it opens up a lot of options. And to think that, okay, Julie's in Denver, maybe every once in a while she could offer, an online open class that, we pay a regular fee for, but we could jump on Zoom and do it. And now we're used to, honestly, like I've been dancing in my spare bedroom since, 2012. And I know not everybody else has, but for me, it's like incredibly comfortable. And like I would love to continue doing some of both, and I think it creates a lot more possibilities, and maybe even other ways, like for your studio, to have a different income stream from doing a mixture. It's something to consider moving forward, that it doesn't have to just end, that it could continue to be a part of our life. And I think it's a really interesting thing to have out there and to be looking at.
Yeah, I agree. And we hope to keep our online classes going after we return in person as well. I think that there's a different kind of skill. And that I know at the very beginning, people were very frustrated by not having hands-on corrections, which I hope that we will get back to that in person and have a hybrid approach. But at a certain point, you need to be able to apply it in your own body without someone telling you every single time you're wrong. You need to be able to feel it yourself. You need to be able to apply and be like, oh, they meant turn out my legs. Okay, got it with you on that, right? Like you need to be able to take these lessons you learn in class and apply them to your body. And I don't think you can do that in class. Throughout my training, I've always rented studio space to practice wherever I was. Being in New York, there's very little space in your own apartment, but I would rent. Ripley Greer in New York City lets you rent studio space by the hour, by the half hour, whenever you want, which is amazing. So I would just rent and go and practice. And so that was always a part of what I felt was important, to apply the things that the teacher was telling you, because so much of it is like learned, I say, in the shower, where it's like in your mind, it's like percolating under the surface. And so I'm really happy that this is helping people learn how to practice at home, because that's such a huge skill. And it means you can practice every day or every other day or however often you want. You can practice for 5 minutes, you can practice for 3 minutes, you can practice for 5 hours. It doesn't matter. You can decide, like you were saying, Gianna, you can decide like what you want to do, and you can make your own schedule, which is freeing if you don't have time for an hour and a half class, or driving in person, or if you have to commute an hour to get to class, or whatever it is.
Well, and I guess that's the big thing, with the channel. Like I've always kind of tried to keep it out there that, like I don't want you coming to my YouTube channel to learn to dance. Like I want you working with an instructor in person who can have eyes on you, but you can get this additionally. And I know, like Jan and I were just talking about this the other day, how sometimes like our process, you go into a class and you have a teacher and you feel that like pressure of you want to do things just right for them, you kind of work a little bit different way. Whereas then when you kind of like take a step back and work on your own, then you can process like some of those things that, some of the corrections, some of the things they were saying. You don't have to worry about like looking perfect moment to moment. You can kind of go, okay, now I can work through that. So I definitely think, you cannot lose completely that time in the studio with a teacher, but knowing that sometimes the access to that might be limited, especially as adults, it's more limited, then that's right. Like having just that other time to kind of like work on our own, process on our own, can be a good addition. So that's one of the things we get questions about a lot, is people will be like, well, how much should we be dancing? Like how many days a week should I be in class? And it's, there's no set answer. Like it's kind of, and I don't want to tell adults, well, if you can't do 5 days a week, then you may as well not be doing it. Like that's, it's kind of, it depends on what you can do, what your schedule will allow, what you have access to. But access to classes and access to time are definitely some of the biggest issues I always see adults have. And just whether, what they feel like they can get. I only can go to one class a week. So how can I still improve if that's the only studio time I can get? And it's like, well, if you can go to the studio one time a week, then go to the studio one time a week, and then see what you can do additionally.
Yeah, we actually just released our beginner program that we teach in the studio. We filmed it. It's like an 18-hour course. We filmed it and put it online on our website, so people can get sort of like a jump start before they go into their very first ballet class in the studio. Because a lot of times in adult classes, like kind of speaking of access, there's no absolute beginner class like you were talking about. You offered, Abby, where you hop into class and it's like they've all been there for 2 years and they all know what these things are. Not that they're not beginners still, like you can still be a beginner, but beginner could be from 0 to 8 years as an adult, right? Beginner can be a huge range. So if you're at 0, that's super intimidating. So we just released our beginner, we call it Overture program, like introduction, which is like all the basics, all the steps, all the details to kind of help give people that confidence when they do have limited access, but want to still be able to go into that first class and not be so scared.
That's really, really brilliant. I'm so glad that you did that. We do get a lot of questions about like, I want to start, what should I do to prepare? And you're just sort of like, well, you just have to go. Like there's not like a whole lot you could do, but that's like, that would be something you could do. It's sort of like a pre-study, just to familiarize yourself with what might happen. I think a lot of it's just like not knowing what to expect. And so like if they can get like a taste of that, then I think there's more confidence to go in and be like, all right, I'm gonna do this now.
Definitely. And that absolute beginner is just one of the hardest things to break through, because there are so few absolute beginner classes. And different places, especially like the open classes at big companies, sometimes they'll call something beginner and it's like not beginner. They say it's intermediate. Gotten, my tail kicked in what was supposed to be an intermediate class, and I'm like, are you like, what's the advanced?
Right. Ooh.
And I've seen a lot of people, they go in and they get thrown into something and they're so overwhelmed that they're defeated. And, you don't want that for them either. It's like, you want to, like, how can we give people the tools to, like you say, go in and at least know what to expect and feel confident and feel like they can go attack it. I think that's a really, really important issue.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, it just breaks my heart when someone goes through their whole life believing they can't do it, arrives at this first class and says, okay, great, I can't do it. I agree. I cannot. It just, like you've spent the last 20 years believing you can't do it, and you go to one class and all you needed to hear was, that's right, you can't. And then that one affirmation is enough to make you believe you can't do it ever, because that voice was already so strong in your head. So I think it's really important to help people get past that and say, like, no, you can. It's just going to be hard. Like, you can't do it today and you can't do it tomorrow, but you can do it in a year. Like, right? Like, there's a big difference there. But I think just because they go there and they see these people who are doing it, they are like, oh yeah, ballet is not for me. It's too easy to make that assumption.
Yes.
It's hard.
Yeah.
We have let's take one more question from YouTube. We've got our next masterclass in 5 minutes. So let's just wrap up here in 5 minutes. I know we meant to go till 45, but then we started 15 late. So we'll just go another minute here. Let's see, question about how you're dealing with not improving, about plateaus. I think we talked a little bit about that in the beginning. Maybe we just addressed that a little bit specifically. I know, Jana, you talked a little bit about this on the Instagram account recently.
I think it's just because I've been doing it for so long, I feel like I'm in a different place than most people that I've just sort of, and because of doing YouTube and being so much a part of this community, I feel like we've kind of been leading this force, or whatever it is. And so I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to be like, you have to keep doing this, you have to, get better, you have to do more classes. And there's been so many opportunities that I feel like I don't want to miss anything. Or if I don't do it, it might not exist anymore, like those kind of fears. And so I feel like I got to a place where I was like just doing so much ballet. There was no other time in my life to do anything to like separate or supplement or whatever. And so I think realizing that, it doesn't have to be ballet. It could be like ballet once or twice a week, and then I could do, I've been running, I could do Pilates or like just other workouts, and like it doesn't have to be all ballet. It doesn't mean if you do something else like it's not going to help you, or just different, whatever I have time for. I don't know what point I'm trying to make, but like
well, I think perhaps going back to your point about Abby's point about our progress being a little bit more circular, where you kind of have to come back around with a fresh perspective, and sometimes having done something else enables you to come back around, get it, and then loop up to the next thing.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Banging your head against the same wall over and over again,
yeah,
you're not going to gain that fresh perspective.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Sometimes in classes too, just with the idea of making progress, even though like I preach that over and over, try and make a little, there are going to be times where you might go in and you just might feel like, I don't feel like I'm making any progress right now. And again, you have to kind of like trust the process at that point and know that even if you don't feel like you're seeing these things, if you keep going step by step, sometimes you will kind of like even out, and then you might make a bigger jump up. And so you have to just allow the process to happen. And it's just a big old like leap of faith and trust and all that if I do it, it's very rare that somebody goes to class over and over and over and makes no progress. It might be different progress than what you see other people making. It might, you are still unique. You're only ever going to be you. So, your progress can only ever be your progress. But, you can't feel discouraged if you feel like you get into a bit of a rut and you're going in and things aren't happening like you want. You just kind of have to keep going and keep working and just give it some time and have some patience. It's kind of like a flower blooming, like it can't rush those things. Like it can't be a big open flower before it gets, the full stem and everything created, like all that stuff, layers and layers and layers have to be there before you can get the big beautiful flower. And sometimes you're just creating those layers and you don't really know it, you can't really see it, but it is like, I promise it's there.
Well, thank you both and everyone so much for joining us and for the lively chat about ballet. All three of us have seen so many adult dancers come through our lives and just really, really blossom into wonderful, beautiful dancers who are just having a lot of fun, expressing themselves, getting super technical. We all love being with you so much as adult dancers. This community is just really just such a joy to be a part of. So thank you all so much for coming today and for being a part of it. If you are in the 10 o'clock masterclass, go to the one in 1 minute